Welcome to the Heart and Soul of Business Leadership Interview Series presented by Wasatch ActionCOACH.
Thank you for tuning in to the next interview in our leadership interview series. Today we have with us Fletcher Hamel. He is the owner of Hamel Creative in Salt Lake City, and he will be interviewed by Coach Sterling Broadhead. He is the Director of Coaching for Wasatch ActionCOACH and a certified business coach. Thank you for being here, Fletcher.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful. Well, I for sure am excited to have you here because we're friends. And I figured we talk a little bit about how we became friends.
That's a good way to start.
Okay, good deal. So I do military pentathlon competitions, and one of the events is orienteering. And I naturally needed to improve my orienteering skills. So I was searching out orienteering in Utah and stumbled across the awesome club Orienteering Utah, and Fletcher is part of the leadership team. So that's how we connected several years ago. Do you want to talk a little about why orienteering, why you like it?
Well, I joined Orienteering Utah when I moved to Utah, and it has been part of the sport that I endear myself to, the orienteering in general and adventure racing, and that's kind of how I got into this essentially competition, friendly or otherwise, with map and compass, and it allows for, I guess, intelligent running. If you
Sure.
I mean, not that any running isn't, but to find your way is a good way to put it while you're competing, and it's a good segue into sort of what I do, which is helping organizations and business owners find their way, find their voice, and communicate their value to their customers and clients. And so I use a lot of analogy along this guidance or navigation as part of what I do and help provide them. So it's really unique that was how we connected, and sport in general is a great way to make those partnerships happen. So.
Yeah, partnerships and friendships. So tell us a little bit about your company.
Okay, well, like I alluded to, I help business owners and organizations mainly with their branding. I help guide that positioning and messaging, and ultimately the design or creative work that goes out and helps them with their marketing, and even more so with their kind of business strategy in general. And I came to that through the field of design work. So I still provide a substantial amount of support in both graphic design and design in general, giving my background is in architectural engineering, and then environmental from the standpoint of space design. So it really kind of narrowed its way down to the story of developing narrative about who you are and what you're trying to accomplish. So I still do that on a day-to-day basis. So that might be a brand or marketing piece, or it might be a website. Really just depends on what my clients uniquely need at any given moment.
Great. And what led you to start a business?
Well, some might say it's in my blood. I come from a background, actually both my parents and my wife's parents were business owners. And so we were raised around that necessity of providing a service, being kind of unique in whatever space that is. So there's this idea of leadership, of providing for your family, for your employees or community. There's just a lot of, I guess, ownership around that was modeled, and I think it was just a matter of time. Of course, there's always the necessity of life events that get you there one way or another, by choice or happenstance. So that's generally what led me that direction.
Great. And what would you say is your favorite part about owning a business?
for me, it's the flexibility, and I still live in the business ownership space of that ubiquitous solopreneur. And so a lot of the larger projects, I'm partnering with other contractors or doing whatever again, whatever my clients need to get their message out. I'll assemble a team, I'll hire support if it's outside of my wheelhouse. But it allows that flexibility to be what I need to for my clients and do what I need to for my family. And so there's that time and who I want. I get to be picky with who I serve. So that's, I guess, a huge part of why I continue to work for myself.
Wonderful. And what sort of challenges would you say you've encountered as being a business owner?
Similarly, in that small business space is the balance. I got really good at, for better or worse, wearing a lot of hats at previous places of employment, and that has served me well, but it's really hard to hang those up when it's time. So finding that balance of how many projects to take, how to serve, and then when to best offload scope or whatever the case may be. So, it's just it's the juggle of the entrepreneur.
Definitely. And any promotions coming up or big projects you'd like to talk about?
Not any specific promotions coming up. I could acknowledge the fact that this past year has been very good to me in terms of partnerships with other agencies around the country, doing, like I mentioned before, environmental graphic design, wayfinding scopes for massive conventions. Just recently partnered with a PR firm out of San Francisco, Singer Associates, and they're working on a redevelopment project out there, not too dissimilar from some of the stuff that's happening here locally. And so able to work with them on a client engagement center so they could pull in strategy and different things like that. So these sort of big intellectual creative partnerships are really where I see myself going further, and I've been enjoying those. But on a personal promotional note, like we mentioned orienteering, but it was supposed to happen during this pandemic, and it's finally circled back around. But California is hosting the World Road Gaining Championships coming in 2023. So there's a few of us from the local club that'll be going to compete in that. So
wonderful. You're going to do great. Yeah. You're very gifted in orienteering. And what would you say is the easiest way to find your company, someone who's interested in your services?
So you can find me online. My website is Hamel Creative, and that's Hamel, and creative spelled exactly like it is, .com. I'm also on various social media. You can find me and company pages on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, the big ones, right? And so I'll connect on any of those platforms as a good way to just sort of break the ice on what kind of projects or needs you have in the creative space.
Great. And LinkedIn is how we connected for this.
Exactly.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I think at this point, I'll turn it over to Jennifer for the lightning round.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for being here. It's very cool to learn about your company and orienteering. So my first question for you is, do you have a favorite local nonprofit or charity that you like to support and promote?
Well, sure. As part of the adventures and nature around here, and even before that, I have an affinity towards pets, specifically dogs, and so I know that Utah is a no-kill state, which is wonderful, and Best Friends is a huge part of that. But the group that we've had a lot of success with in adopting our current pets is Rescue Rovers, and I just love the program that they have in place for creating foster environments for these pets that are coming out of bad situations, and sort of reintroducing them to a healthy environment prior to owners taking them home and giving them a good life. So rescue overs is definitely top of mind for me.
That's awesome. So next question, do you have a favorite local restaurant?
There's several depending on the type of food offerings. Whole nother thing to get into for me is I have plenty of food allergies. My whole family does. So, you know, before I offer a selection that I would enjoy, I'll first tell you that by far my wife makes the best food. So, but
Smart.
I can go for tacos pretty much anytime. And one of the favorites for the family is Taqueria 27. They've got a couple different locations in the valley, and they do kind of small street style and custom style Mexican food. And so chips and salsa and guacamole, you can't go wrong. So.
Excellent. And what do you like to do here in Utah in the summertime?
All year round, but specifically this summer is mountain time for me. So hiking, biking, getting the dogs out into the woods, escaping. That's where I find a lot of inspiration and kind of I can turn in and get ideas or get grounded when I need to. So yeah, the outdoors, always the outdoors.
So what do you like to do here in Utah in the wintertime?
Well, I still hike, believe it or not, in the snow, but I'm slowly being converted as a transplant to Utah into skiing, and my kids are both much more powder hound than I. So we get the ski time in, and then when I can convince people to, we escape to the desert and just get again some solace and some disconnect and reconnect with important ideas or things. Or so yeah, that's to me it's been an adventure of finding new places, and whether that's new canyons or new places to eat or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So
And what do you like best about living here in Utah?
well, I think I've probably already said it, but the outdoors. I mean, I don't know if there's another state that offers the variety of natural landscapes that we get here, from high alpine to desert. If you love being outside, if you love adventure, if you just love the beauty of it, you can't beat Utah.
Very true. Okay, and my last question, what is the best piece of advice you've ever been given, either on leadership or business ownership?
It's probably the best piece of advice that I've been given and read and still struggle to adhere to, but it's that consistent effort. So making daily, weekly, little bits of progress on whatever you're trying to accomplish is substantially more impactful and compounding over time than trying to make once in a while Herculean efforts. So as a creative, I find myself struggling between the two, but it's always a good piece of advice, and there's a number of great books on the topic. So yeah, consistency.
Great advice.
Yep. All right. Well, that's all the questions I have. Thanks for being here, Fletcher.
I appreciate it. And I enjoyed it. Thanks so much.
Awesome.